Because right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks for sticking around for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Chris Mueller in a matter of moments over to 93.7 The Fan Cam, and we definitely have a lot to talk about, especially a special pre-Halloween show here. We're going to go over our favorite candies a little bit later, our top 5 favorite candies and top, 5 worst, I think we're going to do here too. I'm going to get Ray Petland, Ken Rice's choice. There's a lot of good ones on this full screen we have coming up here, this graphic. We'll get to that in the second segment, but right now we want to talk a little bit about the Steelers, and there is Chris Mueller with his nice Oakmont shirt. I had a chance to play Oakmont the other day, but I was working. It's like the 5th time this year I had to cancel on Oakmont. Unbelievable. Pomp plays there like every week. Every time I have a chance to play, I got to work.
I mean, I thought Pomp was playing Laurel Valley every week, so I guess he's just shuttling
He does that
between
too.
the two.
He goes back and forth, Oakmont and Laurel.
This is why I have to give a shout out to my boss, who we all call Content Craig on the air, because whenever I find out, like randomly during the summer, that I might have a chance to get on Oakmont, he encourages me to not work that day so that I can go play and occasionally sneak a picture or two and throw it on Going Low. So I'm encouraged to play. Rich, before we dive into a lot of sports and some busy stuff and all that, I feel like you maybe dodged me during the summer of Malsey. You didn't want a piece of old Malsey as the handicap was rocketing downward because I couldn't stop playing well. I feel like you might have dodged me here. That's all I'm saying.
I think you dodged me. I asked you to play in my member guest this year, and you blew me off. You were my first choice.
Blew you off?
And you blew. You
I
said
was
you
going
couldn't
on vacation.
Play. Oh yeah, that's right. You had something else better.
And I was also Kevin Jameson's first choice and had to say no to him because of the vacation. And then you asked me, which I also had to say no to. So
yeah.
Really, I'm in demand over there because I guess word of my play is spreading, although I was terrible in June.
Well, you know, the handicap needs to stay there. You don't want to come down at all. You got to throw in some high scores, Chris. I heard you're playing pretty well right now, though. All right.
Just encouraging sandbagging on the air. That's good.
Hey, speaking of throwing in high scores, this is a nice segue to the Steelers' defense. Can they fix things? You know, I'm in that locker room basically every single day. And look, last week they were frustrated, mad, anger. They were swearing, a lot of the guys, after they lost to the Bengals. This week it was subdued. It was a different feeling. And I don't know if that's bad or good.
Well, I think that they all understand the gravity of this game. You know, we ran into Pat Fryermuth at Pony's piercing cancer event last night. He stopped down very generously, donated a pair of signed cleats, and just sort of talking to him off the air and just having chopping it up for 5-10 minutes. The three of us, me, Donnie, and Pony, with Pat. I mean, we just briefly asked him about the game coming up, and you could just tell in the way he talked about it in broad strokes, Rich, that if he's any indication, the entire team is very aware of how big of a game this is, not just for the standings, but to almost restore their own confidence that they can actually go out there and win. But you talk about the defense, and I don't know about you, you've probably seen them go through over the years a lot of little swoons, and then Mike Tomlin, sort of when everyone is fully doubting him, pulls a win out, rabbit out of the hat, and people go, wow, he did it again. This feels like, to me at least, to be a possible DEFCON 1 situation for him. Not just because he's going up against a team that offensively hasn't really been stopped by anybody consistently this year, but also because the defense that's been so bad is so heavily reliant on guys who are already on the wrong side of 30, i.e. they've even gotten there. They're not relying on younger players trying to pick up the defense and get up to speed. They've got guys who all, to one degree or another, have lost like a half step, and you would hope that veteran experience and savvy and know-how would more than make up for that. The fact of the matter is it has not done so.
You know, when I brought up that kind of analogy, when they were angry compared to subdue, you think of you or me or playing sports or golf. I try to put it into perspective of things that I do. To try to relate to it, because I'm not a professional athlete. Anger makes me think they should have won that game. They played bad. They were better than the Bengals. But now I'm starting to feel like, are they scratching their heads right now and resigned to the fact that they're maybe not that good?
Well, yeah, what they always say that, I don't mean to bring up like a thing that's serious, the 5 stages of grief or whatever, but there's like denial, anger, bargaining, whatever. And then acceptance is the last one. Like if you just know something bad's going to happen, in this case, your defense just can't get better. When they're so subdued, you just wonder if they've gotten through all the rest of it. And now they just say, well, this is who we are. I mean, I think the fact that they're bringing in Kyle Duggar via trade is probably not a good sign. That guy's just a classic box safety. He hurt his ankle last year, hasn't been the same player. They need help back there. They're running out of bodies with Deshaun Elliott probably on the shelf for, 6 weeks, if I had to guess, bare minimum, maybe more.
Yeah, I would think more than that.
So, at least a month? Yeah, I think his season might be over. Rich, I look at this. If they were a boat, they're taking on water, man. They've got injuries. TJ Watt looks nowhere near his normal self. He had 2 really good games in a row and otherwise has been largely silenced. Cam Hayward's playing okay. Jalen Ramsey's occasionally had bright spots, but he got beat mano-a-mano by T. Higgins to basically cost them that Bengals game. Darius Slay looks ancient out there, and it's to the point where Slay is admitting that he's not playing well. I just don't really see easy answers on the horizon for them. The one guy who maybe could give them a jolt, Nick Herbig, played 24 snaps last week because the head coach seems obsessed with the idea that he's got to have a run-stopping lineup out there. And that's not going to change, by the way, this week because, of course, they've got Jonathan Taylor coming in.
Yeah, I think Herbig, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You lose again? I mean, maybe you should start trying to figure out and, tinker with some things and change some things. Because on paper, Chris, I mean, this just doesn't look, this is not a favorable matchup.
They've given
for
up,
the
Rich,
Steelers.
they've given up 34 points on average the last 2 games, 33 and 35. If you gave up 34 points through 7 games to start the season, you'd be the worst scoring defense in the NFL. So if I were going to lobby Mike Tomlin to get Nick Herbig out there in the field, and he raised an objection about, he doesn't defend the run as well as Alex Highsmith, we can't do that. I'd say, Mike, you defended the run reasonably well against Green Bay. They put 35 points on you. Why does it matter? Like, they've got to get busy making some adjustments here. And when the head coach says he doesn't think it's the scheme, he just thinks it's the tackling and they've got to be a millisecond faster, that does not fill me with hope that they have understood, or that they understand, their predicament right now.
Yeah, and the Colts average 34 points a game, so I would not be surprised if they put up 34 points against this defense. All right, we got to take a break. Back with your calls coming up next. Stay right there. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night from Brent McMurphy. With Nebraska extending Matt Rule's contract, Louisville's Jeff Brom is the new favorite, 40%, to be Penn State's new head coach. Ohio State offensive coordinator Brian Hartline is next at 29%. Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz and Iowa State's Matt Campbell right now are the favorites. Would you be surprised, Chris, if it's not any of those guys?
Would I be surprised if it's somebody outside that group?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. People keep trying to connect like Urban Meyer to it. I just don't think that's happening. I think it would be very funny if Brian Kelly tried to get the job. Remember how he tried to affect a Southern accent and pretend that he was like from the Deep South when he took the LSU job? So what would he do? He's trying to make people in Pittsburgh and Philly happy, so he'd go like, hey, Jeet Jet, yins love it here in State College. What's this John over here? Water. He would do the entire range of accents across this state to try to ingratiate himself. Here is a name that I'm going to throw out there, and I'm sure there are a lot of Penn Staters watching this, and they probably think this is beneath them. Drinkwitz, I think, would be fine. Campbell, I think he's good at Iowa State, but I don't love the season they've had. Drinkwitz, I think, can kind of go anywhere, do anything, and maybe be okay. Matt Rule would have been a terrible pick, in my opinion. And then Brian Hartline's kind of interesting. I forget what the other name was up there, but it was one that I think would do an okay job. Jeff Brom, yeah, thank you. Jeff Brom, I think, actually would do okay. How about this one, though? Bob Chesney. Now, I don't blame you or anybody else if you haven't kept up on who Bob Chesney is or who he coaches.
He
is
related
the head
to
coach
Kenny
at James
Chesney?
Madison. No, yes. Garbage will be everywhere in the Beaver Stadium parking lots after concerts. No, Bob Chesney coaches James Madison. He took over for Curt Cignetti. I think you might be aware of what Curt Cignetti is doing at his current post. Chesney's like 16-5 there, I believe, so far at JMU. He was at Holy Cross. He's not a particularly old guy. He's from, I believe, Northumberland County or whatever. He's from like a town in north central PA. And here is why I think it would be good. You've got a proof of concept that a guy in Curt Cignetti brought JMU up from FCS and really turned them into a team that's starting to dominate in the Sun Belt and get a group of 5 like kind of fringe playoff bid every year. Curt Cignetti goes to Indiana. He is killing it, as we all know. Why wouldn't Penn State want to at least look at a guy who, yes, isn't some big established name, but is doing big things at a smaller school, who has some Pennsylvania roots and probably has a fire in the belly? Like, that's the kind of person that I would look at, and I just wonder if Penn State says, oh, well, they're Indiana. They caught lightning in a bottle. We're Penn State. We need to aim higher. Do you? Do you really? Because Matt Rule seemed to be their guy, and I think that would have ended in disaster. If I were them, I'd look at Bob Chesney at JMU. All
right, let's go out to the phone lines, and we're going to take Brad out in Greensburg. How you doing, Brad?
Good, Rich. How are you?
Good, thanks for calling.
I have a couple questions. Do you think the Steelers will make moves at the deadline, like wide receiver and maybe running back, or do you think they're just going to stick what they have?
I don't think they're going to trade for running back, that's for sure. Wide receiver, maybe, but I don't think it's going to be a big trade or something that's going to make a splash. I know I had Jerry Dulac, he's our Steelers insider, and he was on our air at 6 o'clock, and he talked a little bit about the trade deadline. And he thought if they would have won the Packers game, maybe they would have went out and did something more. But now he doesn't think they're going to go out and make a move, especially with bringing in potentially Scantling next week.
Yeah, I still think Valdez-Scantling might end up back here. I know what Aaron Rodgers said, that he maybe wants to be on a practice, or not on a practice squad and on an active roster, but I still think that there's plenty of smoke and some fire there. Rich, I don't know. Don't you find it odd that we continue to talk about, hey, they could still use a wide receiver too, they could still use this, and yet they keep going out and adding to a defense that's had so many resources plowed into it really over the past several years, and it's just giving them diminishing returns. I mean, I think the story of this team, if they do what a lot of people are worried they're going to do and kind of collapse here and don't even make the playoffs, and I think that's a very distinct possibility given their schedule, is at what point do you finally get Art Rooney and Mike Tomlin, maybe Art to force Mike to do this, to look in the mirror and say, what are we doing? Is our method of trying to win football games really realistic in the modern era where it's still all about offense? Why are we spending so much money for aging veterans who are underperforming like league average defenses right now? It's just, the method does not seem to work, and it's kind of madness that they keep going back to it.
You know, it's frustrating, especially watching these last 2 games. It seems like every time you see a receiver or 2 that are completely wide open, and the quarterback has all day to find them, or only needs 2 points some seconds to find them if you're Joe Flacco. But it's not the scheme. But it's not the scheme, Rich. It's definitely not the scheme. Even Cam Hayward said it's not the scheme, it's us. I don't know, man. I'm not like some football genius. I'm not going to talk about, you know, the A gap, the B gap, 3-tech, 5-tech, and bore people to death, or outside leverage. But something tells me that when Jamar Chase says we knew what they were going to do and we were hoping they'd do it, and then the next week a different quarterback that you decide to try and blitz just carves you up with equal ease. I think Love was 24 of 26 on first and second down passing. Something tells me that your scheme might be getting figured out, or your scheme isn't allowing your players to play fast enough, and so they're just helpless out there. And you blow a 10-point lead and a 9-point lead, and that doesn't happen too often with a Steelers defense that's supposed to be one of the best in the NFL. Let's go back out to the phone lines. We got Kevin out in Hartford. How you doing, Kevin?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Good. Thanks for calling.
I just got a thing about, hold on a second. Patrick Queen. You know, Patrick Queen always seems to be a step behind arm tackle, and it seems like he's playing lazy football. I just don't understand what Mike Tomlin sees in this guy.
You know what? Patrick Queen looked like a man on a mission in that Browns game. You know, I don't think he's completely at fault here. Nobody can cover anyone in the middle of the field. Tight ends, I can't even think about what Tyler Warren's going to do to this defense.
They signed Patrick Queen to be on the field for 3 downs to do at least slow down tight ends like Tyler Warren, to play as a true 3-down stud like a Fred Warner or a Roquan Smith. I think Roquan Smith got Patrick Queen paid. I think the Steelers' obsession, ever since Ryan Shazier's career ended prematurely and tragically, their obsession with like filling this slot for dynamic off-ball linebacker, which is a position the rest of the league generally doesn't value the way they do or close to it, has continued to hurt them. I also think it's a real indictment. I would never call any pro football player, any of them, soft, right? Or say that they're playing soft. I think that's a ridiculous charge to levy. Trey Essex, though, did play professional football, and as an O-lineman occasionally had to block a guy like Patrick Queen if he was blitzing or if Trey was trying to get to the second level on a play. He said he looked like he was playing a soft brand of football against the Packers. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? I thought that was a bad signing when they made it. And 1 or 2 good games from Patrick Queen here or there does not really change my opinion on that in the slightest.
All right, we got to take a break. Back with your phone calls and to wrap up the show coming up next. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Chris, it seems like you and I always do a show around or on Halloween, and tonight, would be Devil's Night, right? The day before Halloween. So we did the candy draft in years past, our favorite candies. Tonight I got Ray and Ken involved, and I want to show you guys our favorite candies to get on Halloween. For sure, my top 4, we can only put 4 on here: Kit Kat Crunch, whatchamacallit, and Mallow Cup. Mallow Cup is so underrated. It's one of my favorite candies. Don't at me. Chris, you like Reese's Almond Hershey, Twix, Snickers, and here's Ray. Candy corn is 4. That's got to be the worst candy in the world. I'd rather eat a candle. And Ken, Kit Kat, I love that Kit Kat's number 1. Reese Cups, Crackle, and Twizzlers. And then, do you want to make any comments about those before we go to the worst? Well,
I've got the best list.
You have the best list?
Listen, I trust Ray when it comes to weather, but candy corn is disqualifying. Twizzler, Ken is a legend. Twizzler also disqualifying. But they can't hold a candle to you. Mallow Cup?
Yes, Mallow Cup.
I'd rather use that. I'd rather try to take those like they're stones and skip them across a pond, Rich.
Ken has Mallow Cup as his least favorite. Look at that. Here, this is ultimate worst
Ken's
candy.
right about that.
Candy corn, circus peanuts. Who wants Raisinets? And Smarties.
Raisinets
They don't
are
even
good,
taste
and so
like
are Smarties.
They don't even taste like anything.
Wait,
Mounds,
what is
I
baked
think, is
beans?
a solid candy, Chris. Why is it on your worst? And Now and Later?
Mounds is terrible. It's got coconut. Butterfinger's awful. Joe Starkey likes them. Milky Way is just it's like Snickers but not good. It's Snickers' underachieving little brother. And then Now and Later, I'll tell you when I want Now and Laters. How about not now, not later, never?
They're like the fake Starburst. And Ray, he has Boston baked beans. That's gross. I hope I don't want any one of those candies.
Rich,
except for Mallow Cups.
A dentist probably created Now and Later because I think those things are responsible for more fillings cracking than any candy ever.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we see you guys on KDKA News right now.